Welcome to Advanced Data Analysis 1 with me, Erik Erhardt, Professor of Statistics at the University of New Mexico. In this video, I'll help get you started with the poster preparation. This is Class 24, Research Questions and Data Sources. So we'll go down to the timetable. Here we are. In the last video, we talked about the analyses, and now we'll talk about the research questions and data sources. All right, so let's go over to RStudio. You'll recall that we left off, and make sure that I've got the current file here. Sorry, I've got too many windows open. There we go. All right, so here's the current project poster. So class 24, right, we've got to do these 4 items. And so we come down here, class 24 research questions, class 24 methods. That's what we're going to work on today. Last video, we filled in the first research question. And one change I made is I put the research question up here, and I put all the text along with that question. So all the results are up here, and the figures are below. Okay, and then, not in the last video, I have since then added a second analysis. Okay, I've got the research questions. Maybe I'll bullet point these as well, but talk about model assumptions. I have a table and a figure that have the results. Okay, and I wanted to point out that we have done figures for cross-references, but maybe not tables. So at the Quarto website, I'll show you this. If you go to quarto.org, this is where you can get all the help. And I come up here to the search, and I'll just type in table. All right, and there are several pieces of help here, but I'm just going to come to the first one and scroll down a little bit. It talks about how to make tables, column width, cross-references. That's what we need. So when we had figures, we had these prefixes of FIG for fig, for the label, and for the caption. And now that it's a table, the prefix is TBL. So I have just added that to my table. So if we come over to the RStudio code, and I'm going to go to the very bottom and page up to that table. All right, so here's the second analysis. And what I'll do is, like I mentioned earlier, I'll put all the text up above, and let's just make this a bulleted list. It'll make it a little easier to read on a poster format. But I basically do a chi-square test, and I've got the result of that chi-square test. I make this table using the GT summary package, table cross, a categorical table where you cross 2 variables. And here is my label, table poster for analysis 2, and here's my table caption that I've got. And then I also have a figure. So down here I've got a label for a figure, and I've got a figure caption as well as the size of that figure. And those two, because I've labeled it and given it a caption, I can then say in this table, etc., or in this figure, and then go on to talk about what the figure says. All right, so that's something that wasn't discussed last time. All right, nicotine dependence I think is a variable, but in my write-up I should have spaces. Make it like words. Okay, back to the analysis, or the research questions and methods. Let's start with methods. Excuse me. We're going to talk about the data sources. So we have to talk about the NESARC dataset, which variables we're using, and the statistical methods, and then we'll wrap up with the research questions. So going to the course website, if you scroll up above the timetable, there's a section here where we got our data, the NESARC data. We have spent a lot of time looking at the code book. We read the data set in every time we run our code. You probably haven't really looked at the sampling design. So I'm going to open that in a new tab. And this page discusses how the data were collected and for what purposes for the NESARC study, the National Epidemiological Survey on Alcohol and Related Conditions, NESARC. All right, so there's an introduction here. It talks about the psychiatric disorders that it has, how different diagnoses were created for alcohol and other disorders. All right, as a list of topics: alcohol use, tobacco use, medications, etc., general characteristics. Okay, so what I recommend that you do is read through here, and here's the NESARC design, how they sampled the data. Read through here and pull out 4 to 5 sentences that for you encapsulate how this data were collected, where it comes from, what the motivation of collecting it was, etc. All right, I'll show you what I have pulled out for that. So let's see, we'll scroll up to the appropriate section. Here are the methods, personal codebook, data sources. All right. So I've got a sample from the first wave of the NESARC data set. We focus on young adults. That was, I think, my original study. So in this case, I think I unrestricted it to all smokers. We focus on smokers. That was in my specific analysis. Respondents is spelled with an E. In your case, you know, if you're studying alcohol and something else, maybe you want to focus on just people who drink alcohol. In which case, you want to mention that in here. Okay. I've got some additional information in the NESARC, and I've got a link here. Now, a hyperlink's not very useful in a poster, so probably it's not worth putting one in. They describe the sampling design. Adult respondents, misspelled that twice, were sampled from a subset of households included in the U.S. Census 2000 supplementary survey. To improve information about smaller groups, blacks and Hispanics were oversampled by about 50%, as were young adults aged 18 to 24 by 25%, by 125%, so double and then some. Using the U.S. Census as a sampling frame helps to provide a representative sampling of the country. Oversampling smaller subsets of the population means that comparisons involving those subsets will be more reliable. Those are, I wrote this several years ago, but I believe that those are my own opinions about this, or my own interpretation of these oversamplings. Okay, so when you read through about the survey, take out the things that you think your readers need to understand about the data in order to best interpret the results that you have. All right, so that's for the data sources. Now I'll probably write, so this class 2 personal code book, let's see what we can do here. We should probably just call this methods. Maybe I'll just remove this, a sample from, okay, and then so methods. I'll just make each of those a bullet point. All right, variables used. So now you want to go up to your code book and pull down the variables that you used in your analyses. In my case, I've got these. I've got lifetime major depression, yes or no. I've got total cigarettes per month smoked. And okay, and I indicate that this total cigarettes smoked per month is actually a combination of two other variables. You know, how many do you smoke, and when you do smoke, how many cigarettes do you smoke? Okay, and then I also have nicotine dependence. All right, so I'm going to bring these stars off to the left. Okay. Let's see. I might reorganize this in a moment. In fact, I probably should do that right now. Let's do data sources, or data source. And if we indent these, those should be sub-bullets. Then we'll have variables used, or just variables, or features, or some other term. I think that all this indenting like this will probably break the way it's going to look. Okay, so then we're going to indent all of this variable stuff. I think we can, oh, I see. I'm going to press enter. Okay, is this all one sentence now? It's a little bit too long. I don't really like my lines to be so super long. So I'll put a couple line breaks in. I think we can probably indent that much and it will still look fine. All right, finally, the statistical methods. Okay, so we'll just put statistical methods. And in my case, I've got a two-sample t-test and a chi-square analysis. And I indicate what I'm using them to test. All right, let's knit this and see if we have something that we like. Recall last time we updated the YAML so that we have cache is true. So it's not reading and computing everything, it's just rendering the HTML with any of the updates. Okay, that's where we were. Let's go find the output file. All right, we've got methods, data source, okay, blah, blah, blah. I might even bold some of these. This is underlined, but it's repeated, so that's not great. So I can improve this. So I'm not going to take the time during this to improve it, but I'm going to reduce the repetition here. Variables, we've got depression, cigarette smoked, nicotine dependence. I also have some citations here. Let's skip over that for the moment, and we'll talk about that in a later video when we're talking about references. And then the statistical methods. Okay, good. The last part is coming back up to research questions. Okay, 2 bullets, 1 for each research question, stated as the alternative hypothesis. Now, we basically already have it, because at the beginning of each of our research questions, I've got the question right here. So I'm going to copy and paste. There'll be a little bit of duplication on the poster, but I think that's okay. The research questions area right here is a little bit more like a table of contents for what's going to come later. Okay, there's the second research question. Hope you're following along. So I just went down to each of my research questions and I copied those research questions. I'm going to remove the notation because a reader of most posters is just going to want the question in English. Okay, is the population mean total cigarettes smoked? Oh, sorry. Is the population mean total cigarettes smoked? Oh, greater. I've got the word is there twice. Greater for people with depression than for those without depression. Good. Is there an association between nicotine dependence and ethnicity? Okay, that looks good too. So let me go fix that original research question. Okay, remove that second is. All right, I think, is it possible that I've recorded a short video? All right, so we'll go, I've rendered it. When it's done, this will update. There we go. We've got the research questions. Nice. We've got the method. Okay, I'm going to tidy this up off the video. And then we have the first research question. We're going to, in fact, maybe we'll make better headings for this. And then the second research question with the results. Awesome. We're halfway done with our poster. So let's improve this part here. Maybe we'll call this, I don't know, research question 1. Okay, I don't love it, but it's fine. All right, I think that's it. All right, I'm going to take the last few minutes here. You can stop the video if you like. You already do that. To improve this writing of the data source. A sampling of the first wave of the NESARC. We focus on smokers. Okay. I guess we don't really need this link in here. Let's just say that adult respondents were sampled from a subset. You know what? I'm just going to make all this one paragraph. That's the simplest. All right, I've got a period after variables, but not after data source or statistical methods. So I'm going to try to standardize the way that looks. In some ways, we probably don't need these variable names in here. So I don't know. I'll sort of leave that up to you, whether you want to include them or not. It's not really relevant for the poster. So I'm going to leave mine in just sort of to be lazy. Okay, all done. So I'll see you in the next video for class 25.